one of the advantages of a greenhouse, and can also be thought of as a disadvantage, is that I get spring many weeks ahead of the real world. Today it's 28 degrees outside, it's 60 in the greenhouse, and my Catlin elms have decided that it's time to break dormancy. I love Catlin elms because they are super responsive, very fast growers, a lot of fun to work with. You can do a lot of different things with them, but they are not 100% winter hardy here on Long Island. So I rarely, if ever, put them outside for the winter. So I put them in the coolest part of my heated greenhouse, which I guess is an oxymoron, and I end up with spring several weeks early. So it's January 23rd. Spring isn't until March 21st, 22nd. So I'm way ahead of schedule. And this tree started as a cutting several years ago off one of my other Catlins, and it is in desperate need of a tune-up. My goal is to make a shohin. So as you can see, this thing has no problem putting out buds and growing vigorously. The thing you have to be aware of when you're working small trees is that the apex of the tree is usually the most vigorous part, and that's where you're going to scar up first. So I'm sure you can see the spirals there, the wire scarring from, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. But what I'm going to do now is take it back and get rid of all the pieces that did their job for bulking up the trunk. And pare this down to what is really essential and not distracting the eye. The thing that I want to see is the line of the trunk, and then after that I want to see the branches. I want to make sure I have branches going 360 degrees around the trunk. Now, got a little bit of a conflict here because that branch is much thicker than that branch. I rather like where that one is. I like that one, I like that one. Not so sure about this one. I may leave them, let them run on to thicken up. This one really is in a bad spot, needs to go. And then I've got a conflict here because what would be my back branch is coming out of the same spot as this branch that I like to keep, but I'm gonna make the decision, get rid of them. The apex of the tree, do a little zigzag, so we keep him. You will find that you are constantly redefining the apex on your trees. I'm going to take this back to that little twig and we'll see what that buys me. Now, I tell everyone the least exciting thing to watch is someone wire. Every bonsai demo I've been to, the good instructors can talk while they work, and the not so good ones babble on for half an hour and then spend 2 to 3 hours of your club's time demonstrating their ability to wire. I don't need to watch someone else wire. That's just a little too boring for me. Now, how do I know what size thickness wire to use? It's always a crapshoot. Depends on the species, Depends on the thickness of the wood. I like to use that 6-inch test where you press on the branch with a length of wire. If the branch moves and the wire doesn't, you're probably strong enough to hold that branch in place. Okay, got an interesting little zigzag in there. Got to be careful. I'll split right in there. Also have to be careful with this one. Trying to bring him down. If it doesn't work, then we'll end up with one of these little backup branches doing the job for us. Now, I'm going to leave this longer because I think I want to let that one fatten up. I'm going to have to keep a really, really good eye on it this spring and summer, because if I don't, it will scar up very rapidly. So you have to stay on top of them. Now, some people tell you should have 1,000,000 trees. Some of the artists tell you should only have 5 trees so that you spend quality time with your trees. And when people ask me how many trees I have, I tell them I've lost count of how many trees I have, but I only have 5 good bonsai. The rest are projects or fantasies. You'll see some of them as I progress through the greenhouse this winter. My goal is to work my way through all those projects I've been holding off on for whatever reasons. Not enough time, not enough help, not enough money. So, when you're wiring branch to branch like this, well, this is not even branch to branch, this is branch to secondary branch. You want to make sure you wind your way around the foliage, around the buds, around the twigs. You want to trap any of that in there and coax them into position. Debating if I even need that one down there. If you're ever unsure if you need a branch, take out Mary Miller's Magic Towel and cover it up. And see how the tree carries without it. Doesn't look bad without it. Doesn't look all that great with it. Oh, no pain, no gain. We're gonna go for it. I know this is gonna make some of you crazy, but I really don't see a need for this branch. Of course, now I'm gonna get a million little twigs and buds popping off that spot. I'm also not a big believer in wound sealant. I've been successful with it. I've been successful without it. Alright, so that looks like he's dead. Don't know. Probably don't need that one. So get rid of him. Got a little tiny one up here. Put a little baby wire on it. Actually, I'm trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Now, because I have wire scarring, I don't want to follow the same path, so I'm going to go in opposite direction, which always confounds me. I'm not so good with this clockwise, counterclockwise thing. I think I got it. Now, the question is, will this be strong enough to do what I want? Now, I'm keeping more material at the top than I ordinarily would. I'm going to give it a chance to bud out, see what it does. Okay. Now, a lot of people freak out about what I'm going to do next, which is I'm going to root prune and I'm going to repot. So you can see I have a bunch of oxalis that has moved into the pot. I've got some arenaria, got some moss. Don't need any of it, so I'm gonna fish it out. Oh, look, a mosquito. Huh. That's the problem with being in a greenhouse. Every insect loves it. They're always trying to make a meal out of your plants. I told a friend the other day I feel like I'm operating a slug maternity ward. I've got slugs and eggs everywhere I turn, so I've been going through every pot, getting rid of the little buggers. Alright, so this thing is very well rooted. So I'm going to make 4 cuts around the perimeter. And I'm going to comb out love Catlin elms. I love them. They are so responsive and vigorous. And the fun thing about elms and zelkovas and a couple other plants is you can make a whole new tree just from a piece of the root. It is entertaining because they do their own thing with their shape. I'll show you one in a minute. Alright, so I still feel there's too much going on into here. Hit it with some Super Thrive. And I'm going to put this in a plastic training pot because this is nowhere near ready for a bonsai container. I want to give it a little bit of extra room to spread its roots and bulk up that one branch. So the question becomes, do I overpot in that or do I overpot in that? And the dilemma becomes whether or not I can remember to water it. So I could overpot it here. Overpot it here, which actually doesn't look that bad, or I could overpot it here. I'm going to go for this shallow plastic pot. Now, plastic pots are going to hold their moisture better than clay.